Hey.
Hey, can you hear me all right?
Yeah. Yeah, I could hear you.
Yeah. I have no idea how Discord works. I'm such a boomer.
Yeah, I was wondering if you've ever used it before. It is quite different a little bit, the UI. Like, yeah, these voice channels. The first time I used Discord, like maybe several years ago, I was quite surprised that I like clicked a channel and then I heard people's voices and I was like, am I like talking to these people? And then I just like quit like immediately. I was like, whoa, that was like sketchy.
Yeah, too funny. I feel like I get exposed to new tech right now if it comes up with work, and I've seen Discord before, but it's been a while.
Right. Yeah, so Sammy joined there. Can
Hey
we
there.
hear? Yeah, yeah, we could hear you.
You guys hear me?
Yeah, how's it going?
Oh, it's going good. It's going good. I just jumped in. I heard you were
Yeah.
talking about Discord being new tech.
Well, yeah, new to me. I'm trying to think. We had a company, we had a startup, a few startups ago that it was everybody had to sign up for a Discord account, and then there was something about servers, and I was like, you know what? I'm out of my depth here. I'm just going back to Slack.
Yeah. That's interesting. I was thinking like right before everybody joined, like I was wondering if you had used Discord before. And then I was thinking like, does being like if we go by the divide of like extrovert, introvert, does being an extrovert make it like more likely or not that one will know how to use Discord? And it's funny because like it's an application for like talking to people, which you'd think is like an extrovert thing, but it's like the name server even makes it like uh that's an introvert. That's introvert space.
We're in
Yeah.
introvert territory. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So I guess I know both of you, but I guess like neither you guys don't know each other. So I don't. I was gonna like frame this whole thing, but also this is like a yeah. It's interesting like the number of levels that I think about when I think about like there's a recording going on right now, but also there other than like the whole point of this is like to ignore the recording and just do like a stream of consciousness like conversation like talk about whatever comes to mind, but also like you two don't know each other, and so then like people usually like reveal info about themselves when they're like introducing, but then the fact that there's like a recording in the background is like people might not want to like share super deep information, but it's up to the individual preference. But also I can edit stuff, but then typically I don't. Uh, but I guess I'll let like both of you maybe run down like whatever you want to say about yourselves.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, we can just be like open, like, this is like the first time we've recorded. Then if anyone's like uncomfortable with anything, or you can message me like after, I feel like I should have some kind of like the more this becomes like multiple people involved. And if it ever did go more public than like unlisted on YouTube, I feel like I have some responsibility to like notify people that your data is like open to being deleted, whatever capability I have to do that in the future.
You're subject to GDPR and CCPA. Is that what it is? CCPA? Whatever the California one is.
Well, I'm guessing that means you're working in software there, Sammy.
Yeah, that's right, Andrew.
I'm happy to introduce myself, or you can go first, Sammy. Whatever. Yeah. Okay. I know Richard because we went to what I will call Canadian Hogwarts together. We went to the Royal Military College and studied English literature for our undergrads.
Nice
And I
you.
think, sorry.
I said I see there's another. I think we both know someone else as well. Did Felix also go there, Richard?
Oh, right. Yeah. So there's Felix Lavoie is someone, yeah, I
Right.
guess I used his full name there, which is probably fine for this. Sometimes I consider like not doing that, but anyways, yeah. So we know, me and Andrew probably know Felix. Felix was like my roommate at RMC. And then, Felix and me and Sammy and some other people do like a game night on Wednesdays on Discord. We play like video games online together.
Cool.
So there's that connection. Yeah.
Right on.
All
So yeah,
right.
I mean, I've been following along from a distance as Richard has gone off to the States, and then about 4 years ago, I mean, I guess Richard, you left the military after a couple of years, went back, did an undergrad for software development. I don't know why I'm introducing you right now. But I was like,
Yeah,
that's
don't worry about it.
and followed along, and then saw you working for Microsoft and then Google. And then I spent about 13 years, 9 years after graduation, most of it flying search and rescue in the Canadian Air Force, and then a few years managing an operations center. And like my first assignment there was we've got a bunch of these outdated business processes, and everybody's managing everything in Excel workbooks and Access databases, literally from the 90s that have just been updating these sheets. Can you do something better? Actually, I think my boss first told me to do data entry for the next 2 weeks, and I was like, I'm not doing data entry for 2 weeks at a time. Whatever that year was, 2017. And I said, can I hire a software developer? And he said no. And so then I found somebody who would work for us for free for a couple of weeks. And yeah, this guy is like such a legend. He was like in his late 20s, and he led IBM's API Harmony strategy, and in his like early 30s was at the Watson Research Center, and then was just like, hey, let's do something cool for the Canadian government. So I got to hire him. He worked on a project. He wrote like not even an application, like 20 lines of code that changed how we were buying fuel around the world and found $60 million in savings in our fuel budget. And then I got to go back to my boss and say, hey, can I hire some more software developers?
With the $60 million we've made.
Yeah, that's right. It seems like this was a good return on our zero investment. And yeah, so that's kind of how I ended up in the tech world. Did that for a couple of years, a couple of different startups, and now work at a startup that I manage with a few other people, trying to figure out the environmental impacts of different manufactured products.
Wait, hold on. You skipped a lot there, Andrew. You went
Yeah.
from working in the military, and then you went to a bunch of startups. What was that transition like?
Yeah, well, my wife and I mean, I was pretty cooked by the military, I think, by the end, which is probably something Richard and I have in common. 5 years of search and rescue was rough for sure towards the end. It was just like a lot of on call, a lot of day shift, night shift, just not good for your personal
everything.
Yeah, and relationships, and literally everything. And then I did that management kind of ops job for a couple of years, and then I just decided I wasn't seeing like technology can only move so fast inside of a government, right? There's just too many change review boards, for example, to do even the simplest tech task, that it was like, okay, I want to go see what we can do somewhere else. And we decided to move to the US, and while I was waiting on my green card, went back to school, not for anything techie, but for an MBA, and just kind of landed in a couple of tech roles over the last few years. And then we actually invested in Carbon Graph like 4 years ago, I want to say. And I was doing another job, and it's all I was thinking about was like, hey man, this company seems like it's doing some pretty cool stuff. And then they were nice enough to let me join them full time and keep working on that.
Carbon Graph is the company you're working at now?
Carbon Graph is the company, which it's a blast, but it's small, and we're figuring it out.
An interesting fact is that I think I've mentioned on here before that I live in like SF, but both of you were in SF kind of during the same week in person. Like you had traveled for different reasons to SF.
Oh, really?
And so it's kind of funny, yeah, that like a few days after meeting with Sammy, I met up with Andrew just when both of you were like in the city for different reasons.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's kind of a funny thing.
That was hilarious. I was driving across the bridge from our CEO has a place in Sonoma, and we'd been taking meetings there all week. And I'm like, wait a second, Richard works at Google. We're going to one market. And I texted Richard with like 40 minutes notice. I'm like, hey man, we're heading into the city, and I'm going to be at one market. He's like, I have a dentist appointment at one market. Yeah, that was pretty cool. I really enjoyed that, catching up. Sammy, where are you? You're not in SF.
So I'm actually in Ottawa.
Okay.
Yeah. Where are you in the US as well?
I'm in Fort Collins, Colorado, so like an hour north of Denver / Boulder.
I see. I have not been to Colorado, but I've only heard good things. But yeah, for me,
this is all part of the. I dropped in another channel that me and Sammy are part of, like this idea of the Leadville half marathon next year. And so this is now a thing, like, cause yeah, I'm going there because Andrew's there, and now possibly Sammy and another friend would join this trip. And like, I guess Ben is someone that me and Sammy, a friend that we have in common, is also in Denver, Colorado. And so there's this potential that we all see each other in person, like in about a year from now in Colorado, doing these like Leadville races.
Yeah, it'd be super fun. I got my butt kicked on like a 5K today because there's no oxygen here.
Well, I mean, that's why you train there, and then you go somewhere else for the real races.
Oh,
Even
like
better.
right after seeing Richard, my wife did the Napa full, I did the Napa half, and it was like, you're on
There you
easy
go.
mode. Yeah, you're like a superhero.
Good stuff.
Sorry, I'm monologue there, Sammy. Tell me about you.
Yeah. So Richard and I met. When was it, Richard? It's like 3 years ago now. It was like 2022 or
Yeah,
something.
I guess yeah, like mutual programming friend invited me to the Discord server you run.
Yeah. So I run something called Paper Fridays. It's essentially like a reading group, I guess you could say. People come in on Fridays at 1 p.m. and they bring like a topic, an article, a paper, whatever it is they want to talk about, as long as they like care enough about it that they're like excited. And like the rules are pretty loose, but the whole point is you talk about it for just 5 minutes, no longer. Although if everybody's interested, we just keep on going with it. And then you ask questions in an unbounded time. And I've been running that for about, I think it's 4 years now. And Richard was invited there, but let me go back a bit further than that. So I grew up in Nova Scotia, really like small town of like 10,000 people, and then I went to Ottawa for school. Yeah,
Which small town?
Yarmouth.
Yarmouth. Yeah, I know Yarmouth.
You do? How do you know Yarmouth?
Yeah, well, so I flew search and rescue, so I got to see all of the small town areas. Let me pull up Yarmouth here. I'm thinking there's probably like a navigation aid there or something that we would have tuned into.
It's funny. It's like if someone's been lost there, then you possibly have found them.
Oh, totally. Yeah, it's like Yarmouth. That's the wrong Yarmouth. I'm looking at Yarmouth, Massachusetts. Hilarious. Didn't know there was one.
There's one in the UK, of course, too, but no, Yarmouth, Nova Scotia.
I think my buddy. How old are you?
I'm 30.
30. Do you know any of the Hardings?
I don't think so.
All right,
I mean, I'm not that well connected to Nova Scotia anymore, but Hardings, I mean, maybe.
Yeah, you're like right on the southwest corner there.
Hardings who?
Sorry, Harding's the one of the guys that I flew with for years. I'm like 99% sure he's from Yarmouth.
Okay.
Sorry, that was
no, not aware. No. This is it's fine. I always love to find connections with Yarmouth. It's so funny how like when I introduce myself to people and I say that I'm from Yarmouth, everyone will sometimes have some strange connection to it, even though in my mind it's like such an obscure small place. But sometimes the connections get like very like I've had a case where I actually somebody was married to somebody who grew up in Halifax, but that specific family had a very close connection to someone I knew, and we were able to be like, oh, I know you through this other person. It's like, you know, typical you meet someone in the airport, small world reaction.
Totally.
But, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I grew up there, and then I went to U Ottawa for school. I studied physics for like 4 years, which was fun. I like really enjoyed it. And then did a few businesses while I was in first and second year, which was both a great idea and a terrible idea. I did a lot of like programming and stuff in my free time when I was in high school and middle school, and then by the time I was going to graduate university and start my PhD, my supervisor was like, "Hey, Sammy, do a lot of this coding stuff. It's like it's 2016. It's like, you know, everyone's interested in tech and stuff like that." And he was like, "You know, I think before you go do your PhD, like you should probably go try doing an internship somewhere." And I'm so happy he he told me to do that. The opportunity cost of not doing it would have been, a very, very bad thing in hindsight. But I ended up working at a company called Shopify for a while.
You know Harry Brundage?
Yeah, I do know Harry Brundage.
He was my grade 12, I want to say, physics classmate.
Really? You know Harry?
Ontario.
Holy shit.
That's hilarious. I sent him a totally unsolicited LinkedIn message the other day. I was like, "Hey, seems like you've done a lot since Kingston. I don't know how to hire developers."
Are you kidding me? Is that what you told him, or is that what he said?
No, that's what I said to him. I was just like, "Hey, we're looking to hire people that look a lot like you, and I don't know what I'm doing." But he's busy building I'm trying to think what he's building. He's building some kind of dev tool, Shopify platform.
I know exactly what he's building. Yeah. I've spoken to them quite a bit actually.
Yeah,
I've been to their offices and stuff. Yeah.
I don't think I've spoken to him since high school, but he seems like a really cool guy.
Oh yeah, Harry's great. He was actually a director when I was an intern. So he was like, I don't know, like when I had joined Shopify, like he was definitely like up there at the time that I joined. So he was a big deal. And he was just like literally raw intelligence. Like when you meet those kinds of people, like you're like, oh, okay, you're on a different level. That's cool. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, there was a handful of guys from that high school chemistry and physics class that I'm like, I've seen where they've gone, and I'm like, that was a pretty cool class. When's my turn?
It's funny. I've had that feeling. I've had that feeling as well, but it's like I don't know. It's like sometimes you're in this group of people that are like, I like not at like all the time, but like at one specific point in your life, maybe it's like a group of friends or a group of people in class or a group of people that you like meet up for drinks or play game night with or something. And I don't know, sometimes it's just like an exceptional group and you wonder questions like that of like, oh, this one person did this crazy thing and they're all from that same group.
Totally.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Anyway, so I guess I'll keep going.
Yeah, Shopify, how long were you there for?
I was there for quite a while from tech standards, but I was there for about 5 years, just over 5 years actually.
Cool.
I joined when they had like just under 1,000 employees, and when I left, it was I don't know. I publicly say that I don't actually. Yeah, about 12,000, about 12,000 people by the time I left, and did like a bunch of things in there as a software engineer. I worked in data stuff. You're talking about data entry, but I was like building platforms for that kind of stuff. And I did management for a while as well, which was it was fine. I didn't love it that much. I feel like just being a frontline manager is different from doing other kind of management, and I wasn't a fan of it. But yeah, I mostly just work as like a more senior engineer now. Worked at Stripe, yeah, like I said, about 5 years, and then the pandemic ended up leaving. Took like a year sabbatical to just live, which was really fun, but really illuminating too. And then I ended up working at a company called Stripe now. Been here for just under a year. Yeah.
What are you doing with Stripe? You said kind of like a senior engineering role?
Yeah, essentially. Essentially within Stripe, they have like Stripe billing, which is essentially if you want to like have a subscription to something. So if you want to pay for like something per month, let's say Netflix, we essentially make it super easy for someone to just spin up a subscription and then start charging people as quickly as possible.
Carbon Graph is a proud Stripe customer.
Oh, really? Do you guys use Stripe subscriptions in any way?
Yeah, we send our invoices. We use subscriptions.
Oh, cool.
Automatically enroll in a subscription for our software.
Oh, there you go. You're using exactly what what I'm working on. That's really funny.
Pretty cool tech, I would say. Yeah, when the odd person finally signs up for our platform, that's what they get to see.
Yeah, that's cool. What's the startup doing exactly?
Um, this is a terrible start to an elevator pitch. Um, we
You don't have to give an elevator pitch. You can like meander for a while
yeah,
and then
let's do that. Do you know about
Yeah, the elevator is stalled, and we're all trapped in it until we get rescued.
the elevator server? Do you know about environmental product declarations?
Nope. Tell me about them.
Okay. You know about like general carbon footprints of things?
I know what a carbon footprint is, and I know
Yeah.
lots of things go into calculating it.
So there's a bunch of programs now for people who are building buildings, essentially, like LEED certification for buildings.
Yep.
And for a company to get their materials spec'd by an architect, it really helps to have like an environmental declaration on those products. We're working with companies to get that environmental product declaration with like a SaaS offer, although we increasingly talk about, with agentic workflow services software. But basically, you've got like the raw material manufacturers like steel, timber, aluminum, electrical manufacturers. They're producing thousands of different SKUs, but a lot of them look really, really similar. And so we help them generate that initial sort of carbon footprint, but it's a bunch more dimensions than carbon footprint. And once they do that, they all work with, maybe 50,000 different customers who turn, for example, steel into steel shingles for roofing or I-beams or junction boxes. And because we already have all of that upstream data, we're trying to help those kind of OEM manufacturers then add their 2 or 3 sentence description of how they transform those materials and extract as much information as we can from that to get them to that environmental product declaration a lot faster. So there's like raw materials, manufacturers, and then architecture firms that spec those materials. And this is kind of our insight recently is like no one's doing a good job of linking those 3 people together. And it's not just in the construction space. There's plenty of consumer products that benefit from these kinds of labels and designations, but making that data flow a lot more seamlessly between the raw materials and OEMs and end consumers is interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure there must be like a lot of pulling on threads to like try and understand all the different details. But is it like something where you like get a template and kind of like reapply it, or is like every customer new?
Yeah, well, like our insight has been lately, there's a couple companies in the space, and a bunch of them are trying to basically disrupt the entire consulting side of the equation, because usually like the traditional workflow is you Google what's an EPD, and they say you need a consultant to help you build it. And so they're directly going in competition with the consultants, and then they're not getting the jobs because the firms that are working with the consultants value that relationship and the level of surety that comes with it. And like the consultants that, in addition to like the technical expertise, they definitely provide you like a level of security. So we've been working more directly with the consultants, having them onboard and build what can be really complicated models of products or production facilities. And then we just kind of stay the software layer while learning from both groups, like, hey, what's actually important here? And I don't think like my kind of, technology will eventually prove us all wrong, but I think it's going to be a long time before that consulting relationship goes away. And I think it's a very good 5-year plan to be like making the consultants as powerful as possible for their customers and making all of those people happy and the architectural consultants. Yeah, it's kind of how we're managing it is rather than providing templates, we're just amplifying that consulting relationship, giving them modern tools, and they're able to go out and build the models that they used to build in like legacy desktop software over the course of 18 months. They can now do it inside of 2 or 3 weeks.
I think that's a really, really cool idea. I think starting from the consultants and kind of like helping them just multiplies your impact and gets so much more insight into what the industry looks like. That's really clever. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, like it took a long time to kind of figure that out, but then you get one consultant on board, and they obviously don't have one client. They've got 50 clients or 500, and it's like, oh yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like the business model is an overnight success after 5 years of doing it completely wrong.
No, that's part of it. It's not. It was never an overnight success. It was.
That's right.
I feel like that's how most things are in life too. It's like you take your time whittling away and working on something, and it you don't see many returns, and then it kind of all just happens all of a sudden, like everything falling into place. And then it seems like in hindsight, oh, that was inevitable for this to happen, but
Yeah, I
it
mean,
was working.
like Shopify, man, that was one that happened pretty quickly, but the I mean, the growth since 2017 has been spectacular, and those are a
Yeah.
bunch of smart guys. Like I follow Harley Finkelstein online, and I'm like, that's a smart dude. That's like a smart, passionate dude who clearly cares about the customer.
Yeah, Harley is great. I actually out of all the executives, Harley was by far my favorite. Because he's a genuine dude as well. Like he's like you might see his posts and be like, oh, this is like marketing. It's like no, like he actually believes in this stuff. And he's like very like he just cares a lot.
Totally, yeah. Like, and I feel like he's just not filtered at all. He's like, yeah, kind of hard on his sleeve.
Yeah, I've never met this person you're talking about, but I think me and Sammy talked about the same person one time, and I was
No, it was a different guy.
Time,
that was a
different
different guy,
person.
Richard.
Yeah, maybe it falls into the same. Yeah, that's interesting that there's a second person out there that that matches this. But yeah, I was gonna bring up this idea that there's like, I guess maybe in software it's called like the 10x developers or something, like people that can like just kind of rapidly do so many things, and maybe sometimes like the intellect of these people like extends out to other disciplines also, and it's like a type of person where like the kind of things that society like values getting done, the structure of their mind is like very like razor sharp at like delivering on what people want, just sort of evolutionarily, or like whatever about the economy we sort of pick up in our childhoods or like along the way. These people can like deliver exactly that and create value as it is defined, I guess, by like capitalism. And also it stimulates like our intellectual curiosity. Like we sort of see them solve hard problems, like things that are defined as problems to be solved by society. They solve them in a way that we accept the solution as like that's the solution that we view as like the most legitimate, sort of like using the tools that we acknowledge. But it's interesting that like there's people out there doing totally different weird things. Like there's just like I go back to this idea of like monks like just sitting on mountains or something, like sitting there, and it's like that's a very different kind of problem solving that they're doing there. Like just I don't know, like I imagine this like hypothetical monk just like sitting there meditating their entire life or something, and it's like, can we compare what they're doing and how they're approaching like the meaning of all this to like someone embedded in a city somewhere like driving multiple startups or something? And I often like I find it very fascinating to think about that, is like like we using the metrics that we've designed, often connected back to money. We sort of marvel at some people and their ability to like drive the system, and make things sort of quote unquote happen. But then there's like musical composers and artists and like people doing dance choreography. And then I just wonder, like, is it possible that we're missing, like there's an equal amount of fascinating intellect that random people have that isn't organized in a way that's like observed by like society, and thus like these people that we think of like the legends, or like they're so capable. I wonder if we're just there's a person like that in every odd category and slice of humanity, but we're not seeing them in the same like perspective or something like that. But there's no like conclusion or anything there. I like going down that road of thinking about things that way for whatever reason.
I feel like I feel like if we're trying to compare like some monk that is like sitting there meditating and like reflecting on their own kind of like life and things around them, or even just like, clearing their mind and meditating, and comparing to like somebody that is like actually like doing things in a city. I like I don't know how different like those are extremely different things, but I also feel like in some ways they're not different. Like if I think about when I'm when I feel like I'm doing well at something, be it coding or like getting things done, it kind of feels easy sometimes, in the sense of like I feel like I'm in flow where it's like things just happen one after another, and I just handle each thing as it comes along and I get through it. And then maybe there's something that makes me like stop and be like, okay, wait, this is actually kind of challenging. I need to like take a step back and like get through it. But with all that said, I mean, maybe what you're getting at is like flow. And it's like, you know, that is actually what people are trying to get to, is like have something that they can do that like keeps them within that flow and keeps them like, I don't know, something that is challenging but not challenging enough to like stop them from being in flow.
Yeah, that's an interesting way, because then it's almost like when some people are in flow, there's so many moving parts and so many like gears moving in the society, like for them when they're in flow. And then for other people when they're in flow, they're just like chilling like in an apartment somewhere or something like that. And that's like their state of flow. And like if the goal is to be in a state of flow, then it's like both have achieved it. And then it's just one has like a bunch of side effects kind of along with it or something.
Yeah, I tell you what, I really miss working with Carbon Graph. I really miss any semblance of a state of flow, because it feels like there's so many tasks from so many different directions. I mean, I also miss a good paycheck, you know? I won't, both of those things were nice. Yeah, I don't know. It's like you also said, you know, like a lot of the success is measured by financial metrics, and it's like, are there expressions of this level of focus or success that we don't see or have a lens for understanding, which is interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
Because then also, like, sort of as reported by many rich people, they in the end they stumble upon something else. Like they usually talk about family or something like that as like the thing they should have given more thought to or something like that. And so then it's odd that, like, you know, it's always seen as like people who've sacrificed something about, or not sacrificed, but like, yeah, it's just interesting that it's like, you know, if everyone magically was capable of these sort of intellectual problem solving tasks and company generation, if everyone could just sort of easily do, or as easily do that as some individuals can, but some people would like select not to do it in favor of just like hanging around with family or something, it would be weird to then like you know, it's, I guess in the end it's like hard to de-rank or rank anything.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I was going to say, I feel like I have two thoughts here. Like what you said, Andrew, is very interesting in the sense, like, okay, I'm running this startup, and I don't have any, like, I don't feel like I'm in flow at all. Like I feel like shit's coming my way all the time, and it's like really annoying. And I wish I had like a nice paycheck that was coming in too. I miss that, right? But it's so interesting because then if you pair that together with the idea of like, okay, what is success and how do people actually achieve that? I feel like one thing that comes to mind is like maybe humans want to be in flow, right? You want to be comfortable and doing something that's challenging, but not that challenging. But like to really get something done and to really quote unquote achieve something, you have to like find a way to like do the hard thing that kind of breaks you a bit out of flow in order to like kind of get through something. Be that, sorry.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's like,
Yeah.
I think a lot of founders expect that they should always be in flow all the time. And I mean, I've gone through this with founders where they're like, I check my emails twice a day sort of thing. And it's like, no, like you have to be so unrelentingly on and wrestling with this problem so full time that it's like, it's not going to be convenient, and you can't just expect to, not have to context switch at some, above average frequency. I mean, maybe somebody can lock themselves away and successfully build a company, and experience those like prolonged periods of flow. But it seems like there's just too many moving parts to. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, I think everybody gets those windows of like incredible productivity and clarity, but yeah, the expectation I think going into trying to build anything meaningful is it's going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, which is exactly what I'm like. I'm trying not to use the word uncomfortable because there's the whole like growth mindset versus like non-growth mindset that I didn't really want to label it that way, but I feel like that's almost what it kind of is. It's like when you're comfortable, you're almost in flow, and it's like if you actually want to have the like, cliche growth mindset of like actually getting shit done, maybe it is about being uncomfortable and like not being there, being okay with that. But
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead before I go to the second part if you have anything else.
No, you go.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the other part that you're talking about, Richard, is like, yeah, I think you mentioned something about like, okay, people that did extremely well financially, they'll be like, oh, I wish I didn't sacrifice so much of X and spent more time with my family or friends or kids or whatever. Like, I feel like I don't know how true that is. I also don't know how untrue it is, if that makes sense. Like, but at the same time, like, like, aren't people that are like successful enough to drive at something and ambitious enough to drive at something that hard also always going to have like some kind of regret in a way, like not having done something
that
will
makes sense.
always
Yeah,
be
whatever
part
they
of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's
Yeah.
always like, yeah, go ahead.
Well,
Yeah,
I just listened to Alex. Do you know Alex Hormozy at all?
Alex
I don't
from
know.
what?
Do you know Alex Hormozy, the name?
Alex Hormozy. That sounds very familiar.
If you Google him, he looks like a bit of a cheese ball because I think the third picture is him with his shirt off, flexing his abs. But he did an interview with that Diary of a CEO podcast guy, and it was one of the
Oh,
best.
this guy. Oh, this
Yeah.
guy. I know him. Yeah.
So I think there's probably lots of cheesy content from every time I've mentioned his name in the last week to people. They're like, "Really, that guy?" But he does this really
Mhm.
good long form interview, and he talks about like similar to the vein you're in here, where he's like, I kind of had to become comfortable with the fact that I really like working really hard. I like working out really hard, and I like doing it, both of those things, with people that I like to be around, and that's what
Mhm.
success feels like, which is very different from I think a lot of people's version of success. But what you've said is also like, I mean, that's pure Warren Buffett, where he's like, I know lots of rich people who are miserable and lots of poor people who are miserable. The ones who have family who like them and they like their family, they're usually the happiest ones.
Mhm.
And I think it's, money certainly doesn't buy happiness, but I think having good, meaningful relationships is like probably the best indicator I've seen of somebody being happy so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
like
it's interesting. Yeah. Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I think for me, that's the thing that I think took me a while to realize too. It's like, yeah, you can have, I mean, there's like different levels of having quote unquote money, but I think if you're ever in the middle of the part where you don't have a private jet and a super luxury yacht, um, you know, I'm pretty sure that it's like all about the community you have around you. It's all about the family, the friends, all those kinds of things, I think matter so much more than everything else. And then I think it's all about like fulfillment with whatever it is that you think you need to be doing in the world and things like that, or whatever it is you need to do to provide for your family or yourself. And it took me a while to realize that like that first part is actually the key to being like, I don't know, consistently happy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Like,
I think it takes most people time and also money to figure that out, right?
I guess that's true. Yeah.
It's kind of like those are the things because like you spend your entire childhood. Like, I mean, we didn't grow up with really I mean, we weren't destitute, we weren't poor, we were like a working class family, had a very good childhood. But you know, like growing up, I would hear somebody say like, money doesn't buy happiness, and it's like you instantly out of hand dismiss that person as being like delusional. And then I think like, you know, you move along in your career, you have a little bit more, and then you think, yeah, you know what, maybe these people are onto something, and then eventually you're probably like, no, those people were completely right all along. Like, how could you not see that?
Yeah, that's kind of a summary I think of my whole life up to now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, there's some kind of interesting thing. You know, it's like in the software world, they're always trying to automate stuff. And there's today, especially, there's like, you know, this as a service or like DoorDash as a service. And everything is like, it's like, what if all those little messy things about life that we have to do, like these tasks that come at us, like we're all like automated. And then there's sort of like the implied thing, I guess, is like, then we could just be fully present, like with our families, and everything else would be taken care of. But then it sounds like, at least for some people, like they, you know, some people like want the, you know, especially like for me and stuff, it's like, well, I want to continue to have the challenge of like solving problems all the time. And mostly for me is like, I want to interact with people through my pursuit of various goals that I have, and not just like hang around with no objective, but you know, be in pursuit of something with others or something like that. And that still goes back to like the, you know, family sort of bonding thing.
But isn't that also what Alex Hormozy was talking about, Andrew?
Which part?
It's like I think what you'd said is something like being in pursuit of something and being around people that are also in that same pursuit. Is that
Yeah.
what he'd said? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think he you know, he had this like realization that like it was hard work that made him happy, and like adding up all of the best days of the previous year, it was like, because he had a year off, I think, when he sold his company, when they were doing diligence and they wanted the company to sell.
hmm
There wasn't much that he could do to alter the course of the company. Couldn't build it, couldn't do anything. So it was just like, what were the best days during that year? It was like, did I work out really hard, and did I work on the business really hard, and did I do it with people that I liked?
I see. Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
Not exactly
Yeah.
that then. Close enough.
It's just interesting. Yeah, I guess the one thing I wonder about this idea is that like in some sense, then like there's no answer to this, but it's like in that case, the hardest thing for that individual to do is give up the workout gains and give up the money and go spend, you know, unstructured time with family. That would be extremely hard for someone like that to do that. But it's like a different kind of definition of hard. Like they're defining like hard work as work that generates like income or furthers the business, but then at the same time, like that we're sort of assuming that, you know, that's the harder version of work, but like it's also hard work mentally and as personal growth as a person, like to reframe things as like every, you know, wake up and not chase the easy money or the money that's dangling there, and just sort of let it, like it's hard to stay motionless and let that flow over you in favor of being present with family, which is like which is not any better or worse than anything. It's just like what we've said here, like many people mention, like being around family or something is being important somehow.
and it's probably like, you know, there's being around family, and then there's like doing a good job of being around family. One of the guys I worked with in the past who, like, you know, could be making outrageous money every single year, and you know, the opportunity cost for him was time with young family, and like that dude is just the best dad in the entire world, and I feel like that's an incredible amount of hard work, but I think he gets the satisfaction because he's doing something difficult. Richard, you said like, you know, what would change if all of the kind of like DoorDash / conveniences were all there suddenly available for everybody. If I'm getting that right.
I just think, yeah, my assumption though is that like that's not the road we want to go down. But it seems like I would say the misguided ideals of big tech is like, you know, everything is a service. But I actually think that would kind of be like not really solving anything. But yeah,
Totally.
but you can still continue with with your point.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think like, yeah, it's exactly like not the road we want to go down. It's like, or at a personal level, it would be really brutal. I think like, you know, all the incredible weight loss drugs that have just come out now, right? It's like we have outsourced every inconvenience and challenge, and it's like with any kind of modest level of success and happiness today, like how much easier could life possibly get from where we are today? And yet people are still not happy, right? So it's like, I don't know.
Like if anything, we need like more obstacles and hard. Like it's almost like dissatisfying that there isn't as many things like challenges that we just face in daily life. Like the struggle has been removed to a point where when we do struggle, it feels like pointless and that there should be a way around it. Like we almost like are so expectant that there's a way around every challenge that it's
Yeah.
we're not yet.
Which is why like the whole ultra running community has popped up, right? Everyone's like, oh, conquer
Yeah, that is a good point.
10K, 50K, 100K. It's like, where is happiness? They're like, I don't know, but it has to be harder than this.
Wait, are you
Yeah.
saying this because Richard does this?
Oh, I think it's like,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I mean, like, I don't do ultras. I like going for long bike rides. I like going for runs, but it's like, it's addictive because it's satisfying, and the only way to keep it satisfying is to do the harder version of it, right?
Yeah.
Well, definitely
Yeah,
along those lines. Yeah, I've found that like I love being in a multi-day race because every little thing you do matters. Like, how you apply like sunscreen and what you pack where, and like every footstep is like, going in some direction and like measured by time. And I always feel like so like every little thought I have and how my mind wanders and how much water I'm drinking at what intervals. Like it's all like every little thing matters for these few days where, I'll be like in an event. And then there's this moment where like you finish the race and the timer stops and then you just immediately like walk off, in some direction, no objective. And you're like, doesn't matter if I eat, doesn't matter, what I wear when I shower. Like I could, sit in the sun for too long and that doesn't matter. Like all of a sudden it's just like, I have way too much flexibility about what and when I eat and how much, and it doesn't matter if I make good time getting anywhere. So that's what I notice about these events is like, for me specifically, my mind, it's so satisfying to be in a system where every little thing is measured in like a contributing to this one time number, which I don't even try to optimize for time. I just like that idea that like you get this, you do the route, you get the label, you can measure like if you had some amount of success or not. But then it's frustrating in regular life where it's just like nothing, it's like frustrating that it's like no one's measuring me, or like in school it's fun to get a grade, but then you leave school and you don't get like grades or hand in your assignment, and then be done with it. Like at work, it's obviously just like ongoing or more messy.
I hear that your description of the race there and how satisfying it is that every single piece matters and contributes to the ultimate goal. And all I can think is, how difficult was an undergrad in English literature? Where that was such a wild experience where there were so many days where I felt like nothing mattered what we did. And it was so nebulous. I don't know if you've reflected on that at all.
I guess at least the thing that I liked the most about that degree was like many days, like I would, well, especially the military college, like there'd be morning events, you'd go to class, and then I would do like a workout. I was on like a varsity running team. So we do like a workout after the school day. And then around like, I think it was like between like 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. I would go to like the library, sit at this like laptop with no battery in it that was like plugged in. That was just like one of the computers there. And like I would work on like essays for like 2 hours. And I was very happy, like, because I felt sort of like that was the routine I was like forced into, but it included like a component of everything. Like there was fitness and learning and me doing work, and then that those words would become a paper that would be handed in on a certain day, and it was like enough like external structure and motivation that I just had to like let the system like take its course, and I felt like it was allowing me to like do all the things that I want to do. And like often these days it's like no one's asking me to write anything, or no one tells me to work out, or I'm not part of like a workout team. And so it's like it's all on me, and I often like don't have the self motivation, and then I'm like I could be so much better if there was some kind of system around me, like just kind of telling me for no reason other than just like to do it, like to do this stuff.
Yeah, that's like Peloton's business model is like put an
Literally.
iPhone from scream at them. That's amazing.
External motivation. Bring it in. I think this is such an interesting conversation. I think especially from the place you started it too, Andrew. It's like we were talking about DoorDash, and how we have all these conveniences in the world. But it's like, how much happier could one small inconvenience being removed actually make us? And then why do we proceed to do all these hard things that don't really have a, like, we don't need
Mm.
to do it. Richard, you don't need to run an ultra marathon. You just enjoy it. Andrew, you don't need to run a startup, right? You can happily is the wrong word because that's probably what it actually is about. But you could do something else and get a nice paycheck, but you're choosing to do that, right? It's
totally.
it's just so interesting how people, like, I don't know.
Mm.
It gets very meta here. Like, why do humans struggle to do things?
What was the last inconvenience that was removed from your life where you're like, that's worth it?
What was the last inconvenience? Honestly, shoveling and mowing the lawn. I'd have to say those were the two biggest recent things.
Is that because you're in a condo or because you've hired somebody to do it?
I've hired somebody to do it.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. That's like, Richard, what's yours? What's your best inconvenience removal?
This is maybe not that interesting, but and not even that true, but like when all the browsers on different computers like got standardized enough that we didn't like explicitly need like patch code, which was like jQuery at one point, to like standardize all of them, when you could just write the code that the browsers would recognize, like enough of it natively that you'd have like a reasonable assumption that code would run on any browser roughly similarly. Like that was a moment where for me it was like, now when I write code, I don't like, there's less worry and concern about it just immediately breaking, like when I don't run it exactly the way it was like written. But that's not like that big of a huge of a win, but it's in the same spirit of like the things that I value basically.
I don't know if I know technology well enough to say that this was the same thing, but I remember our users of the software application we wrote for the Air Force, we would get like once in a while somebody super frustrated leaving feedback and calling us to yell, and we're like, well, what browser are you using? And it was like Internet Explorer 9 or whatever it was. We're like, well, okay, you are allowed to download Chrome now on a work computer and life will improve. Like literally anything other than Internet Explorer.
Yeah. That's pretty similar. That's a good also point about like, that's maybe a better way of saying what I was saying too. Cause like, yeah, the removal of Internet Explorer and the standardization around some of the engines that run these browsers did a lot for portability or something like that. Yeah.
I switched to an EV a little over a year ago, and that was like, I didn't realize how much I would enjoy not going to gas stations ever again. I was like, and now if I rent a car when I'm traveling and I have to go to a gas station, like it really irks me. It's like, I like waking up and having a full, quote unquote tank of gas every morning. But then the other day, I mean, double-edged sword, I was driving in a little ski town and I waved at somebody who was running on the side of the road because I'm just trying to be a nice person to runners and cyclists. And because it's a Tesla, he loudly booed and thumbs downed me.
Really?
And I was like, that's crazy that we've gotten to this point in the politics where
I didn't think
I'm
the hate
driving.
was that real. Wow.
Yeah, friendly gesture, and it's only happened the one time, but it was jarring. I was like, he's running opposite the direction of traffic, and I'm just waving to be nice. And it's like, man, imagine if the person driving the car is having a bad day and you thumbs down and boo them. Like, you're crazy, man. That's game over.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm like anti-car. And often like I'll be walking around like downtown San Francisco and I'll see Teslas and I'll attach, to the most recent news item that I've seen that like these people get like hate. And I'll think like, like, would it be helping the world if I boo this person in this Tesla? And then I haven't yet, but it's like, but I always look around. I'm like, if anyone else boos them, I'll be the second person to boo them. Cause I want to like, but but it's still then my next thought is like, but they're just a random person and they might not even, they don't have any connection with this. So it wouldn't really do anything, but I'm like so eager to like do something that, supports the idea of like mobilizing in society that I'm just like waiting for a cause and identifying still that like, that's probably not it, but like the stock price is going down and these people are, there's like protests like outside the factories and stuff.
There's a booing faction. Richard, I need to know if you were in Steamboat on Sunday doing an ultra. Oh man, that's
It's
funny.
funny.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, the world's like I mean, what a time that we live too, right? It's like talk about removing all of the inconveniences, or like, um, I don't know. I guess politics is hard in the U.S. That is a hard thing that we can all get interested
Yeah,
in.
that I feel like politics is a hard. How do I say this? The current political landscape is very complicated. Let's say that.
Yeah,
Uh,
Canada too. It's like I have no idea what's
yep.
going to happen next in Canada. I thought for sure
I
it
Yeah,
was
to
going
the
to be.
point. Yeah. Mhm.
thought for
Go ahead,
sure
Richard.
what.
I thought for sure it was going to be a political, conservative government next, based on how just my general read on public sentiment when I was back in Ottawa in December to see family, and I was like,
Mhm.
long-time multi-decade liberals were all very upset, and it sounded like everything. And then Trudeau's
Literally a
gone.
month.
Yeah, and you know, Poilievre's whole position was anything but Trudeau, and now Trump is the enemy, and it seems like it's going to be a liberal government again. And I'm just like, I don't know what matters anymore. I'm so confused.
Yeah, it's been such a reversal. I mean, it's been a reversal not just in Canada but around the world for various reasons. I feel like it's just the world is changing very quickly. It makes me think of there's some quote about like some things happen and like take decades to change, and sometimes decades happen in weeks. I feel like we're in that period. I guess we'll have to see, but um, yeah,
Totally, it does.
this
It does feel exactly like decades are happening in weeks right now.
yep.
Mhm. Oh yeah. Well, I guess so. We're approaching like the end of the hour. These are usually like hour-long recordings. But maybe we should end with like a couple of like organizational points. Essentially, like both of you are on this server now, so like you kind of are just like welcome to drop in at any future week. We do the same time like every week. Like me and Justin. Justin was like out today. Uh, but yeah, like or then we can, you guys can go off, and then me and Justin can like invite you back at some later time, because it'd be interesting, like whatever we've said today, it's always interesting to like come back at some point later and then see how things have changed since, like, now that we have like this recorded measurement like in time. But then so I guess we can talk about that like offline, like when and how often you want to come back or never come back or something. But then an interesting thing to record here at the end would be like maybe something like in a few sentences, what's the thing that, in life at this moment, you sort of envision the future version of yourself like really achieving? Like if you sort of want to paint like a picture in words in a few sentences, like what's the big thing you want to like unlock and achieve, and like like some kind of framing of like the grand vision that you have for like the person you are or want to like grow into, or thing you want to create, or anything sort of along those lines. And I'll sort of give like the example of my thing, which I'm not close to creating, but this is like the example of like what I would want to sort of do at some point. Is like the words I have to describe it right now are like, I want to make like an interactive music video that runs like in the browser. So like you visit a website and you're in like a 3D environment walking around like in a first person controls, and then you're hearing music as well, and probably like you are getting delivered some kind of creative message, as you would sort of get delivered a message via like in a song you listen to. But maybe I would have words on the wall in this like game, or I would be audio like narrating, or there would be some kind of music, or it would be more of like a meditative, like there'd be ambient music and you're sort of meant to like take a break and meditate and explore this environment. And so that I envision that as like you just hit up a website, there's no load time, you're just in this experience, and you are getting delivered whatever you get delivered when you watch like a music video, or you sort of play a peaceful video game. That kind of idea. But that's like, so that's sort of my goal at some point, is to sort of align everything that I know to like create that experience and it could be a fairly simple experience that in the end, like just a simple 3D environment with simple music. But I want to just sort of use what I know to deliver that and see if I can sort of create some kind of experience that other people maybe would be into sort of replicating or doing their own version of as like a medium that's like compelling or easy to access for anyone that's at like a computer. So yeah, if you guys are interested in sort of like, I don't know, doing some version of that or whatever, just sort of like talking through, like the ideal case of whatever you're striving towards at the moment or something, not to be like too grand or anything about it.
I was worried this was going to be a hard question. I just think I'm happy to come back. I think Sammy, you said like, yeah, I mean, it seems like a fun group. I haven't talked to Justin since college. Love to come back and get the update there. But this could be one of those fun groups that you go through a period of your life with and get to chat about things. So I have an idea. Yeah, I don't know, Sammy. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm totally down to come back. It sounds like a fun group too. I like the idea of this too. It sounds sounds pretty unique.
I sort of I want to like sort of enable this without like structuring it too much, because it's so fun for it to be like unstructured. But when there's multiple people and like timings, then it's more of like I have to be a bit more like regimented just to like inform people who's coming in or who may or may not want to be in. So I'll have to just like, I guess we'll just keep it like super, I would say keep it super casual. Like I'll post in this like server in the chat here, like, whenever I'm doing a weekly recording, and maybe people can just take it upon themselves to like chime in and say if they're going to join or just join in the moment, or like, don't even worry about joining halfway through or something. Yeah, me and Justin do like a regular thing. We try to do 1 hour at this time every week. But then, yeah, we can keep it with you two just kind of popping in as you want with warning or not, whatever makes sense. Or we can, if you want more structure than that, I could sort of do some kind of send out reminders or something.
Yeah, totally.
But you can just let me know. Yeah.
Seems like the thread is it's a group of Canadians who like talking about ideas and stuff, building interesting things.
It's funny. Like I think half the group is Justin in the U.S. as well.
He is kind of in between Ottawa and Vancouver, and he's now looking at Vancouver. Yeah.
I see.
But with him, yeah. So he like.
US.
Yeah, Justin, like in many previous episodes of this, I guess, or recordings of this, Justin's talked about like his skill with piano, and I've heard him like play piano. He's very like naturally talented at piano, and he's put in a lot of work for it. And like something that he wants to do is like get his music out there. And so that really puts me in the mindset of like, it's like, yeah, how does one do that? Like one, create, like for him, it's like creating music and trying to distribute it without perhaps like so much effort or force or like, being aggressive or hiring marketing or something, just sort of wanting to like make music and have it get to people who find it meaningful. And so then it's very fascinating to like hit on that topic of like, yeah, it's like, how do we just kind of make that happen without putting in effort that like destroys, because even, he's talked about this before, is like trying to record yourself playing like feeling heavy, thoughtful, like, music where you're sort of like, doing some impromptu playing, but if there's a recording, you're not like lost in flow as much, because you're thinking about like, the audience listening and is it good or not, or how the recording quality is. So it's like, yeah, it's like so that's kind of reflective of this conversation too. It's like, how does the act of recording something lessen the true authenticity of it? Well, at the same time, like the only way anyone would get benefit from this, including ourselves in the future, is that if it is recorded. But then there's like this imperceptible loss of the authenticity or something like that, like that comes along with it. Yeah, so it's like this dilemma of like the creation of content or something.
I feel like it lessens over time. Like the more you're used to like quote unquote being recorded, the more it's like it does feel natural.
Oh, yeah.
I actually hosted a talk show on live TV when I was in Yarmouth, which sounds insane. We can talk about it another time. But like for a whole year, every Thursday, I would actually interview people live, and I don't know. It's like it's weird being recorded, but I think eventually you kind of get used to it and you stop thinking about it. But anyway,
I just went through
that's my
this.
thought there.
We recorded a lecture, the CEO of our company and I, for University of Alberta, and I have spent, I don't know, months now recording content on how people use our platform and some of the different features. And he gets on, and I'm like deep into this recording, and he's just got to like chime in and be like, "Hi everyone, my name is Ty, and it's really great." And he gets on and he goes, "Hi everyone, my name is Ty, and shit, this is gonna be hard." It's like, I remember that. There's like, there's probably 50 hours of me on my hard drive going, "Oh shit, got that wrong." And then eventually you look like a psychopath when you're recording because you get something wrong and you just stop deadpan and you pick up the thread again. And yeah, you just got to go through that 100 times or 1,000 times. That's
Yep.
so funny. I kept that video because I'm gonna splice together a blooper reel for the company at some point of hilarious recording issues.
Oh, that's lovely. That sounds really good.
Yeah. Do
Yeah, go
you
ahead.
have an idea to answer Richard's question there for what you want to build or do?
Oh gosh. You said a
No
few
pressure,
sentences,
though.
Richard.
Yeah.
I
Or you could just,
I don't
yeah,
know.
I guess I
How
would
about
change, yeah. Because you could also
how
just
about-
say whatever you want in sort of in closing the concept. So you can
why
sort
don't I
of
just say
alter
what's
it.
been top of mind?
Mhm.
How about this? Like I said, after I left Shopify, I worked at a startup in SF. It was a lot of fun. And after I did that, I essentially like decided to take like a sabbatical where I just did whatever I wanted and didn't really question things too much. And it was great for a while. And then I hated it, and I told myself, no, I think I actually need to work. And I went back to a job, and I did it mostly because I think I missed working with people on things and like shipping big things. And the more and more I realize it, I think the more and more I realize that that's not actually what I missed. I think what I miss is just like work. Like I do miss working with people to ship something. I I don't miss the corporate environment at all. So I think the thing that I'm really trying to like that's really been on my mind lately is just like I want to like do more things, whether that's a business, whether that's shipping something, whether that's taking a side project and turning it into something that um, is revenue generating in the sense that like if it makes $10 a month, I'm gonna be happy. I want to do more of those things just to kind of be like, okay, I'm doing that. And I feel like I'll get more fulfillment out of that than like shipping a crazy feature on like Stripe billing or something. That's kind of what's on my mind right now. Does that answer the question, Richard?
Richard,
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah, I
Cool.
stepped away for a second, but yeah, that
No
makes
worries.
sense.
Yeah, I mean, I like that a lot. I think for me right now, it's like we're pretty laser focused on. I'm having a hard time summarizing it, but I think it's basically that we want to make it so obvious what the environmental impacts are of products that the best option is selected automatically. That consumers or third parties or the end user doesn't have to think about it because the cost of these externalities are built in. And we're seeing some pretty cool trends in like state level regulation that are spurring this, but also in just like the product excellence companies. So even absent penalties or direct financial incentives, some of these companies really want to compete on every dimension. One dimension is environmental performance. So the logical question for them is how do we account for our environmental performance over the entire product's life cycle? We want to make it so easy and so obvious what those impacts are that the best performing option is the default option. Yeah, I don't know. There's too many examples of people struggling with this problem right now. We've got a bunch of medical practitioners, doctors, and surgeons who want to figure out what the impacts are of products, but it's like they shouldn't have to. We should be figuring that out long before they're looking at 3 different options in the OR. So, yeah.
You want to make it easy for people to just fall in the pit of success. as the product manager saying goes.
Totally. This is really fun, Richard. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no
Sam,
problem. Yeah,
really-
I loved
I'll
it. Thank you.
once I upload this, I guess I'll post like so that you guys have it. I'll post the link to the unlisted YouTube video like in the chat here, like once I upload it, so that you guys can have it. And then, yeah, basically that. I was thinking of like because it's sort of like should we send this out or something like I guess I wanted to run by like you guys are fine with like if I send this, for example, to our game night server, like I'm just trying to gauge if either of you would be like embarrassed of having yourself being recorded if like you then heard that someone else like listened to it who is like your friend or something. But I guess that's not, I assume it's like not super, like I don't have plans to like send this around, but maybe I would send it to like my parents or something, for example.
Yeah. No, I totally,
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
totally fine. If we get to 100 million views, yeah, I don't think I've said anything I won't stand behind today.
If we get to 100 million views, like let's cross that bridge when we get there. But there's
Yeah,
not 100 million views right now, so
Yeah,
I'm fine.
it's
If you
interesting
were to
thinking
send
about
it
it.
to everybody
Yeah.
you know, I would be fine with it, Richard. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's like the issue of like once something is out there, on the internet, you can't take it back, and so then it's interesting to sort of be on the possible threshold of like, or especially these days with like people can clone voices and everything, and it's like it becomes a security thing at some point. But
I don't know. I think it's also secure. Yeah,
I guess we'll like address, if anything comes up, we can address it as we go. But for now, we can sort of assume there's no real control on who gets access to these recordings.
Isn't the notion of like deep voice fakes kind of a relief, right? Like,
yes, that's what I was about to say.
Like, there's no way I said something that stupid. That has to be a deep fake. Like, no. Yeah.
You can't prove it isn't, can you? Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Who's gonna believe you? I mean, like we're living in the post-truth era. Like, yeah. No. I mean, this is a total blast, and I will look forward to coming back. It was great meeting you, Sam.
It was great meeting you as well. I sent you a friend request on Discord. I don't know if you used. I think you were saying before you didn't use Discord, but I'm sure I'll see you again. Don't worry about it.
LinkedIn is where I live as a sales guy, but
oh, that's true. That makes sense.
I'll try and
what's your full name?
Andrew
if I can find it.
Sheahan.
S-H-E.
Yeah, Sheahan.
Oh, there you are. Of course, you're a second connect. Oh, and common connection is Harry Brundage, of course.
Yeah, there you go. See, we at least told the truth about some things tonight.
There we go. Okay, good stuff. I'm gonna get going. Thanks, everyone. This was fun.
Good chat, guys.
Yeah. Later.
Right.
Thanks,
Bye.
Richard. Bye.
Bye.